This is The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.
He is coming into the presidential race with a strong civil society background. At 39, he is one of the youngest presidential aspirants in the presidential race. How is he going to blur his civil society background to win the ticket and become the president of the country? Mr. Ateki Seta Caxton is the guest on the program with me, Boney Mua. Welcome to the program, The Bottom Line with me, Boney Mua.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a very great pleasure to get to meet you and to get to talk with you. You know, it has been so long that we had this rendezvous, and because of the busy schedule that we have this period, it has not been very easy to meet. And I want to thank you for your patience, for your, the ability to persist. This is what makes the difference. You know, we are persisting in the race, but I think it's something I'm learning from you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have been endorsed by the Liberal Alliance Party of Celestine Bejidi. Is that correct?
Yes.
But before now, people do not know much about Mr. Ateki Caxton. Who is this person?
Yeah, and just to address the issue about being known, I think today a lot of people are getting to know me, and I think that increasingly the factor of newness is diminishing. But it also is something for me that shows that we need to be able to ameliorate the capacity to project those who are doing something positive in our society. We've had my organization, which I led, the Network for Solidarity, Empowerment and Transformation for All, was able to do a lot of programs for Cameroonians, but I mean, maybe civil society is not given enough attention as it ought to, have. But I do believe that it is important that we begin to appreciate those who are contributing to society. Let's celebrate our own. Celebrating our own means you're looking at those who make a positive contribution and you're projecting them for recognition in society. We did the work that we did not for recognition, but to make a difference. And I'm running for this race, not for recognition, but to make a difference. To serve.
Yes, being endorsed by PAR, yeah. It is a bit intriguing. People would have believed that maybe another party, maybe from the northwest, southwest, or a more national party would have endorsed you. So, PAR.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe before I answer this question, I'll just, complete what I wanted to say from the last one, which is about who is Ateki, a young candidate in Cameroon's presidential race, hailing from Bangui, from Metabol, from Boney Bangui. And today I'm, running for president. I schooled in Bangui, went to Jibatis Bangui, went to the University of Boya, came to Erie, and doing now a PhD in economics and political economy, almost completing it, by the way. And now, I've led an organization known as the Network for Solidarity, Empowerment and Transformation for All. New Seta this is a civil society group that I founded and ran for more than 12 years, successfully running programs across the board that have trained more than 10,000 young people today in Cameroon. Done policy advocacy with members of parliament, done work with municipal councils, and in fact, like 22 municipal councils in more than 6 regions in Cameroon. We've done work on promoting civil society state dialogue. We've done the cultural plan, to see that our differences should not be a source of division, but we can use as a strength. So,
and the reaction when we were doing all this, how was the reaction from the population?
The population basically appreciates. I have young people, programs that we ran, repair program, for example, became like a household name for young people. Young people, when they hear repair is something that they won't miss.
To fix.
Yes, to fix. This is so they're the repairers of the nation. Very, very important concept. So we're repairing it, but actually it's acronym for rebuilding peace through actions with inclusive reach. In French, is reconstruire la paix par des actions inclusives et répandues. I mean, just like that, but repair acronym stands, but it's about peace. It's about governance. It's about preparing the next leadership of Cameroonians.
As a first timer in the presidential race, what is motivating you to come on board? Because we have people in the CPDM, they've been there for a long time. What is bringing you to run for this race?
I'm actually in this race because I I am fed up, just like many Cameroonians, fed up by the way that our governance is operated, fed up by the way the institutions are run, fed up by corruption, fed up by the war in Anglophone regions in Cameroon. I'm fed up with many of the kind of things. People die on our street, on our roads, highways that link cities, very, very prone to accidents. I'm fed up by the number of people who die, young women who die in childbirth. Maternal mortality in Cameroon is something that needs to be reduced. People still die from preventable diseases like typhoid, like cholera. These are things that should make anyone who cares about the people to say, no, I have to get in there and propose something new. And that is why we're getting into this place now to see the previous system has failed. The purpose of the system is what it does. Okay. You cannot say that the purpose of the system is to do what the system constantly fails to do. Yeah, no matter the goodwill, of those who and intentions of those who are promoting the system, a system is what it does. And if what it has done is bring us corruption and hardship and poverty, that is it. That is the system. And so we have to change it. We have to change it. And I believe that today we have a very singular opportunity to take back our country and give it a new definition, a new destiny. We are the sovereign masters of our destiny. We are the subject matter of our history, and I believe that this is the truth that Cameroonians should come to terms with. There is no other person who is going to save us. There's no other person who is going to come and build Cameroon for us. We are the ones who have to do this, and I believe that responsibility, if we're conscious of it, we're going to set the best standards that can help us reach that goal. And to achieve that ambition, it is having young men like myself step forward to say we're going into the ring. We're going to fight and see how we can get it. Because it's like the man in the arena, that famous speech by an American president. And the idea is that you will be there and you're fighting, but there are people who are detracting. But we don't have to focus on that. We have to focus on what we have to do. And what we have to do is, you just asked the question about PAL, which is my party. A lot of people were saying, how long have you been in the party? Civil society and party politics it's not compatible in Cameroon. So you must have to wear one cap. You cannot wear two caps. So my membership in the party, something I kept under the radar. But, I was raised to the ranks of vice president of the party, and today I'm the candidate of the party. So it is a very big honor for me. I want to thank my president for
Celestine Bijigi,
Her Majesty Celestine Bijigi, for doing what is unthinkable in Cameroon. A francophone investing in a young an anglophone, an elderly person investing in a young person. When you see elderly people still clinging to power and running for elections when they are, so they're frail and tired.
Yes, this aspect of your youthfulness, we mentioned that earlier in our conversation. How do you think, that's 39 years, how do you think this age will bring voters to vote for you? And what are you doing to actually uplift them to know that they are part and parcel of
this campaign?
Right.
Personally, I would say youth is not a skill. Youth is not a political program. But, youth is something that represents hope. It represents vitality. It represents, new ideas, freshness. How you can bring something new on board. Something that people are not used to seeing. That is what youth represents. Today, we have a phenomenon in Cameroon where the elderly people say they are youth in spirit. I've always known youth to be a biological phenomenon, not a spiritual one. But if being youth in spirit is not a bad thing anyway. Because if it means that you are open-minded, you're free-spirited, you can work with other people, that's what youth is. But if youth in spirit means appropriation of the places that young people have to occupy, then we must be delivered from that youth in spirit. It's something that we need to think about. But it's for me, I see youth is not a skill and it's not a political program. But I believe that I'm coming to the table not because of my youth, but because of what I offer, what I bring to the table. And I bring something very substantive, and I believe that Cameroonians need that to move forward.
Yes, still with your youthfulness, don't you think that the older politicians who have amassed wealth over the years, they wield political power, they'll be afraid that when you come to power, all this advantage will be taken away from them. How are we going to, bring them on board, let them know that they're also part of the campaign?
So, I feel that today what is needed in Cameroon is the young people and the elderly people working hand in hand. Because the young people are bringing vision and vitality and energy, and the elderly people are bringing experience, wisdom, and it's a sad thing today that sometimes you find that we still have problems that challenge us as Cameroonians, and it's challenging because in Christianity, for example, let me just get this example. When Noah had the flood, God told him that if I would, be angry with the world, I'll bring this rainbow sign to show you that I would not longer punish the world by flooding and so on. But the Muslims have something that they say also that when God is angry with a certain group of people, what He does is He withdraws wisdom.
He renders them not maybe at times.
He withdraws the wise from them so that they don't have wise counsel. This is what Muslims, say, and it's a sad thing. It looks like today we don't have wise people in this country, and the elderly people, are considered to be wise. But look at the crisis that has gone on for 8 years. 8 years.
We'll be coming on the crisis more detailing.
Do we have wise people in this country? Do we have wise people, that can bring us to a place where we can solve our problems amicably, in gentle spirit, and bring about a Cameroon that is managed with wisdom? And so elderly people bring that. It's assumed that they bring that, but I think that is what they bring on the table. So elderly people bringing wisdom and experience, meeting with younger people who bring energy, vitality, and dream and vision, that can help us co-construct a Cameroon that works for everybody.
Yes, in the same vein, some people say your age and lack of experience is a major setback for you winning the presidential ticket. What do you say to this critics?
So people, that is a problem in Cameroon where they see young people is, young people that are too erratic, maybe in decision making. But, then it's a kind of, I'll say, in philosophy we study something called fallacies. It's a fallacy of generalization. It's an error of thinking that you qualify all young people as inexperienced. You qualify all young people.
Erratic?
Yes, it's as erratic. You qualify all young people as, people who have spent time playing silly games and they've not been able to invest in themselves. This is not true for every young person. I consider myself a different young person because I've been able to build, acquire, accumulate experiences for over the years. I've impacted the society. I've proposed laws, things that politicians who have been there for a long time have not done. I've done advocacy. I've trained municipal councillors as a civil society organization, build their capacities.
Let me insist on your youthfulness again. What are you bringing on board that we will see different from the 4 decades of the CPDM with their vision and what will be the rhetoric that will be hearing over years?
I think this is an opportunity for me to just, to talk about the vision that we are bringing on board.
Yeah.
That vision is something that basically can transform, this country on all fronts. It's about economic transformation. So we're going to change the economic model for Cameroon. Now it's the import substitution model. But the import substitution model has a narrow domestic market, which is not even sufficient to meet certain demands. Imagine today, for example, that you have a company like, maybe Target in the United States or Walmart says we need chips, maybe 600 tons of chips in Cameroon annually, or maybe monthly, or every 2 months. How many people are in that capacity to do that in Cameroon? So we want to move from a model of, this import substitution to that of integration in the international value chains or international supply chains, where you
insertion into the international value chain,
the global value chains, because it helps you to be able to get, to find your way into large distribution channels. Imagine Brazil produces beer, and the beer is a derivative from corn.
Good.
Now, corn, the corn that they require annually to produce a beer, the quantity of beer that they need, that Cameroonians drink and they supply the region, is is not sufficient. The quantity of content, so they have to make up for the deficit
by
importing maize from Brazil, from Argentina, from Argentina. So you ask yourself, what is the problem that our own farmers cannot be able to produce large quantities of corn that can be sufficient for just a demand for a company like Brazil? Why?
I think an answer to that one is the few people who are into the corn, the maize business, they've got that monopoly and they don't want other partners to come in.
Yeah.
That's why they prefer, importing from Argentina, as you say.
Yeah.
If private, even smallholders can have the access market to Brazil,
this is it.
They will expand eventually.
It will expand because the demand is constant. The demand is sure. The problem with Brazil is not even demand. Demand is sure. But the people to supply,
they're not there.
They're not there. You see, so what we're trying to do is to move from this small holder, like just mentioned, and do large scale production, yes, and transformation, large scale that can take much labor, reducing the problem of unemployment.
And you talk about machinery, mechanization,
all of this, large scale that can, you see, you're producing and supplying not just for the country, but also trying to get into international value chains. This is a very key thing. It makes farmers to have better returns on their investment. It makes young people to be they hard labor is recruited. People can earn better from the sales of, because right now, what is our portion of international trade? 30%, all of Africa. So when you think about it, it's there's a need for us to change our economic model to get into this very large scale.
Let's get into the crux of this conversation. Your topmost priorities in the first 100 days as the president of Cameroon.
Yeah. In the first 100 days, I think the vision is very clear. We're going to, number one, first thing, we're releasing all political prisoners. The most important thing, I think, for us to get to Cameroon, which works for everyone, is to reconcile this nation. To reconcile this nation and make it possible for Cameroonians, no matter your origin, no matter the language you speak, no matter your religion, no matter your age, Cameroon works for everybody. This is what you're proposing. And for me, national reconciliation is a priority. So in the first 100 days, we're going to hold a dialogue. We're going to get to very critical decisions about the future of the nation. And I have said that if after the dialogue, people say we have to modify the name of the country to reflect our historical reality, I will modify it. And I think have a proposal.
And the proposal is?
The Great Republic of Cameroon.
The Great?
Yeah, the Great Republic of Cameroon.
Not like the continent?
Yes, the Great Republic of Cameroon. It's a great republic. Why? Because it is made up of different great people whose value has unfortunately not been appreciated. You see the Anglophone crisis. Anglophons are great people, but their value has not been, I think they've not been really valued.
Just like the people from
so that is why they left them to fight for 8 years and kill themselves, because they feel that these people are not very important. We need to be able to end this crisis and bring everyone on board, because as it stands, the number of people that have died, the amount of money the government is spending to sustain this war, is something that have been invested elsewhere. Have been invested elsewhere, and we can be able to build a country, an economy that works. That works for everybody. So 100 days, we're going to have a release prisoners. We're going to have a dialogue that that would end with recommendations, and those recommendations I'm going to implement them. Number one could be about changing the name of the country. Number two could be about removing 20th May as a national day, because that day is seen by many people as historically unjust. Because it was a violation of the federal constitution. And I think that historical error has to be corrected. Many people have frustrations with that. If it means that we have to be able to pass to a federal state, right, that leads to the election of governors in the 10 regions, we would do it. This is the constitution of having Cameroon was not given to us on Mount Sinai by God to say that everything is said is true. Yes, so it's not. We can change it to make it work for us. It is not something that we are obliged to stick with it. Honestly,
Yes, Mr. Ateki. I mean, when you talk, people really want to listen to what you're saying, but there are some people who still believe that you are a candidate of the establishment. You've been set up.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who have said these things. But I mean, honestly, one of the reasons I laugh because they didn't even know the struggle that I got through. I'm telling you, doing this election up to this point, I've not had a call. I've not had one call from any person from the regime. You can be surprised to hear that. One call I've not had it. Except from Cameroon when they're calling us to come and come and verify information and so on. I've not had one call from any minister. I've not had one call from anybody in government. One call I've not had. Now, maybe the next they'll call eventually because that's a political system. And I believe that you have to be able to reach across the board. Okay, if you want to govern Cameroon, you're not governing all the opposition. You're governing everybody. So you must have the capacity to be seen as a candidate who is able to reach across the aisle and reach out to other people, that even the people that you disagree with. We disagree with the government right now. We disagree with the BR regime. We disagree with their methods. We disagree with the corruption that they have allowed. We disagree with the rigid, form of state that is unable to reform itself. We disagree with the capture, of resources. We disagree with that. But when you have to govern the country as a president, you have to be able to reach out to them as well. To reach out across the aisle because it is Cameroon you want to govern. You're not governing the opposition. You're not governing your family or your Anglophone region. Because I'm an Anglophone.
Yes, you're coming from Anglophone. People want to know you come from the Northwest region and more particularly from Bangui. How did you ride your trade to get to to be propelled by power? People are still asking this question. But yes, it's a young person. We're not hearing about him, but from the Northwest Bangui, he has risen right to the bottom of the political.
We can imagine that. So, for me, I believe in God. I'll tell you, it's a very, very important foundational element. I believe that there are works that God does. Okay, there are works that God does, and it helps. It makes everybody to wonder, how this came about. But for me, I know the stories that people say about, people buying off Yanko parties and all of those things. I kept my participation in political, society, under the radar because I was a director of an organization, the civil society, and you want to make sure that you keep that profile very low. You keep that profile very low, because if you wear that political cap, you're no longer because civil society is supposed to be political organizations. Political.
And your partners would
not live what they would really, especially when you start getting the politics, your partners begin to be scared. So now, but I was made vice president of this party, but there are many vice presidents though, and we made the first vice president of the party, and then candidate for the election, like that. I tell you, like that. This is the work of God. It's a divine thing. I can tell you, it's not any political gimmicks.
Let's ride on. Your base, your political base is supposed to be more. How are you going to mobilize supporters in that division that has been in crisis? I know it's gradually coming up crisis, but how are you going to mobilize? Because in Momo, if you go there today, you talk of PAL. They don't understand who's PAL is what. Your voters there. How are you going to maintain that the elections they are fair and transparent?
Yeah, PAL was probably more limited, narrow in its geographical coverage. Maybe simply focus on the ways of the founder. In Monatoli, in the central region, in the Lake. That is where PAL really has its base. But now it has to be a party that has a national vision, and that is why I think my president was able to make this decision about getting an Anglophone, because he thinks national. He doesn't think ethnic or local. Now, in the Northwest, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to my people. I already have lost my brother. I've lost my brother in the conflict. I tell you the truth. It's a very painful thing to say.
And how are you going to circumvent the security situation?
I would have to, because the truth is that our people need to recognize this moment. This moment, it's a very important moment. It's a very important moment. Just like I was, just mentioning when I was talking to a group before, that when Jesus was traveling from Jerusalem, he went to Jerusalem basically, he went, and there was a moment where he wept over the city. He said there's going to come a time when there will be no stone, left on, one or the other. Why? Because you did not recognize the time of your salvation. You did not recognize
So
that time.
this is the time of our salvation.
This is the time. We have to recognize this moment. This is the time. This is the time. And if we miss it,
What makes it special this time? What makes it special?
look at, we already have been governed for 40-something years. This is almost 43 years of governance. Who should allow this kind of thing to continue?
People don't want to leave. I mean, those who are in power, they don't want to leave.
The Israelites, I go back to biblical examples. Israelites trekked in the desert for 40 years. God said it was enough. We cannot be in a political wilderness for more than the Israelites were in the physical one. So I believe that we need to be able to get to this moment. This is the time. It's enough. We cannot continue to be in the wilderness. It's people are suffering. People are dying. People have died for 8 years. And my people cannot, if we turn our backs, as Anglophons, if we turn our backs to this election, we're going to get burned. We're going to get burned. And if we get burned, we may have to sit on our blisters for the next 7 years. I tell you the truth. So it is important that we recognize this moment as an important moment that we don't have to let this chance slip off. Yeah, there may have been times when we are discouraged and we don't have any reason to vote. But this time, we have a chance. The things that we're asking for, peace, a return to normalcy, that have lied to us that the regions have returned to normal. This is what the government has always done, lied to us. They've told us lies. I'm here as a candidate of truth. They tell us that they've lied to us that peace is returned. But I'm here to say we can make peace come in for real. And we are going to do it together. We cannot, the things that we're asking, peace, return to the villages of refugees, liberation of political prisoners, all of these things, reform of the constitution and the electoral. These are things that these things are not going to be given to us. But these things are won at the ballot box. And if we don't come out and try as much as possible to vote and defend the vote, these things we're asking for, peace, reforms, those things are not going to be given to us. They're not going to come back. And I'm pleading with the populations there to give us a chance. I will be coming to you. Me, I'm your blood. I'm a son of the soil, Northwest, son of the soil. And I'm pleading that we have to give this moment a chance. I was telling, just a moment ago, I've lost my brother in this whole thing. It is, we've not even seen his corpse till today. I'm telling you the truth. Who have gone before us is to fight that the next generation that comes after us should not continue to experience what we're experiencing now. Yeah.
Don't go away as we pause for a commercial break. Continue to support our platform by subscribing. Stay tuned.
SJ Oceanic View Guest Lodge. We currently have modern apartments and studios available for your comfort. We are located in Limbe, Isokolo New Road, just behind Marriott Inn Hotel. Our prices ranges from 40,000 francs studio and 60,000 francs apartments per night, and long stays are negotiable. We have air-conditioned rooms and parlors with internet service, parking space, and security. For more information and reservation, please contact 676 97 46 43. SJ Oceanic View Guest Lodge.
Welcome back. Mr. President, we know that the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country is a political hot potatoes. How do you intend to handle that? Because it's a sensitive issue. People are watching you. They want to see what you can do to solve. Because just like the northern part, the western, the eastern is part of Cameroon, and people want to live together in peace. How are you going to handle that issue?
This is unfinished business. This problem is unfinished business from the past. It is unfinished business from history. And history has a very stubborn way of, showing its ugly. Yes, ugly. Why? Because things that people try to hide, wrap up in untruths, especially about our history, have a way of rearing themselves, out there, and people can see them again emerge. So it's a historical problem. It's a political problem. Now, once we are all agreed that this is a historical problem, we should see what caused the problem. The cause of this problem was that the federal constitution was violated. Yeah, the federal constitution of a country was violated, and there was an article there, in Article 47 or so of that constitution, that basically said that the form of state was never going to be altered. Yeah, nothing was going to change it. But later on, we dismantled it, did some kind of referendum that today people are probably, you must be sensitive to these problems as a leader of this country. You must be sensitive to them. Many people have said that the way that we can go about this is to go back to federation, because it permits for more localized economic and political decisions.
And the decentralization that the government is opting for?
The decentralization is good, but I mean, it only became amplified or accelerated, 5 years ago. 5 years ago,
I mean,
when we had this in the 1996 Constitution, which is about 1996, this is about, almost 30 years. Almost 30 years that we have something made of the Constitution, and it was not implemented until 25 years afterwards. I mean, it's something that you really see that there was no political will around implementing what was said in the Constitution. There was no political will around it. So what we need to do is make sure that we can get our, the people who are the main actors in this conflict to come and sit down on a table like this one and talk. That is where we begin from. So we begin to reconcile this country. You must be able to have dialogue. Once you agree to come together, like me, you're sitting down, you've already agreed 50%. Once the dialogue takes place, it shows that you guys have the potential to agree.
To talk.
Yeah, to even come and sit down and talk. If you agree that you're going to sit down and talk, you've already agreed about 50%. Because that is only a form of agreement. Then you can build on that. You can build on that and get to other levels of agreement.
But with the national conference that took place, it was that.
I'll tell you, the national conference that took place, the national dialogue, or major national dialogue, as they call it, I was one of those organizations when I was still in the civil society to criticize it. I criticized it for several things. I joined friends, in Douala, like Weda, Maximilian Gombe, Philip Naka, all my friends there. We went to Douala, organized a press conference to say, we don't like what the process of design looks like. Because you're seeing that the actors are not there. Those who have, if you want to
insist on the actors being present.
At the actors, and there was a key actor that was missing. And those who are holding their arms and fighting. If you want to end a conflict, you have to talk with those who are holding the guns. Very important. If you don't do that and you bring, some other people on board and decide on the thematics that are going to be discussed, you're not in a dialogue. You are probably in some kind of an enlarged maybe monologue, an enlarged conference where you basically determine what you want. You talk in an echo chamber, you hear yourself, and you feel that you're in the dialogue and so on. So I think this is something that needs to change. If we have a dialogue, in order to resolve the Anglophone problem, it has to be a dialogue that is sincere.
With all the actors.
With all the actors, without preconditions. And we have to be able to commit to implementing the outcomes of that dialogue. If the outcomes are that there has to be some correction to the Constitution,
the nomenclature of the country, the Constitution,
all of that. If there are going to be electoral reforms, it's also one of the key things. We have to do it and make sure that we can get to elect our people in the regions. The whole thing about appointing governors, it doesn't.
Yes, some of our countrymen are calling for a unique candidate of the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
You of the Liberal Alliance Party power. Mm-hmm. How far have you gone with this?
So the coalition is something that the public is demanding. The public wants a coalition. But I will tell you that a coalition has to happen because, we as candidates have been part of this process. I have been a part of the coalition meetings for many of these meetings. My party, my president was the one who convened the first coalition meeting in Yaoundé. Then you had the Fuban meeting, which was an extension of what happened in Yaoundé. And then we came back to Yaoundé again at the moment coalition. Just, when we had to sit down. We've always been open to a coalition. always been open. I have always been open. I have participated in these meetings because I believe that coming together, unity is strength. There was something that happened in the 1920s after the First World War called collective security, where people knew that you're not, as an individual country, you're not safe, so you must come in for collective security to, fight your enemies. So it's a kind of collective security I'm talking about, because when we unite our forces, we become stronger. So that is from that understanding that I come into the coalition. The coalition has different kinds of mechanisms. Number one, if you're going to do a coalition, you're not going to be absorbed in the party of the other person. If you're sitting your place as a presidential candidate for some other person, it is not that his party is absorbing you, right? His party is not absorbing you.
And that is where there was a problem.
We thought that there was a need to refine, the mechanisms for coalition. So it's not a party absorbing somebody else. So we maintain our independent structures. Number two is that even if our ideologies as political parties are different, there are common things. There are common that we all agree. We all agree that there should be reconciliation in Cameroon, that there should be dialogue. No political party in Cameroon can deny that. We all agree that the electoral process should be reformed. We all agree that the constitution should be reformed. We all agree that political prisoners should be freed. I mean, these are common things.
So what happened for you not having that unique candidate?
So, I mean, we had to get to work on this common. If you want to have a coalition should not work on the program of a political party. A coalition should work on a common program. And so we set up a technical committee that looked at the common that is currently, I mean, they held a meeting today they had a meeting that they're looking at the programs of all the members who have been willing to join the coalition to harmonize the elements. To say, okay, although we are different political parties, when we come together, we're not coming together to say we are now joining the party of the person who is the head now. We're coming together to work on this common program. You see, that common program.
And that is what is to be shown to the Cameroonian people.
What is to be shown to the Cameroonian people, and the Cameroonian people should know that this is the program of the coalition.
It's not about an individual.
It's not about an individual. It's about the program that we want to work on. And so the person who is going to end up heading the coalition must agree with the rest of the members that this is the program that we are going to implement. That is something we didn't do, and I think taking some time off to work on that as they're working on today. They worked on the program today.
So there is still hope that maybe something could come out.
There is hope. Cameroonians, I want to tell Cameroonians they should not lose hope. They will take this. A coalition can happen anytime before the election. The coalition is possible. It's possible. But one thing I would like to say also, why the population is insisting on the coalition of the candidates, I am turning back to question the population. We need a coalition of the people. We need a coalition of the people because if we coordinate as candidates and the population comes to us in these first ranks, what is the point? What is the point of even coordinating in the first place? So it begins in the mind. This coalition is a kind of coalition of the mind, right? The people out there, the voters, must be determined and really focused that change is what they must give to this country this time.
And the change that people are talking about today, there is that consistent talk of an Anglophone becoming president of Cameroon.
Yes.
Did it also?
I think, yeah. One of the things, that came up, I'll tell you, is the need for an Anglophone president. And the need for an Anglophone president was it's something that I think there's a sympathy, for that proposal, even from within the Francophone population. They entertain that proposal as something that can be a way out for reconciling Cameroon. And I believe that if we have an Anglophone president today, which the options that we have is myself, Cameroon, or C. If we have an Anglophone president today, there's a very strong chance that this person walks across the country, unifies the country, brings both sides together and so on. This is what we're looking at. But if we continue with the same old dynamic, the same old logic, even the Francophone parties, if we don't have a coalition, I think it would be an uphill task, to be able to undo a system that has been entrenched for many decades. So I believe that today it's about reconciliation. Let us give a chance for this country to be reconciled. Let us give a chance. And I believe that one of the strongest chances that we can give is to say that an Anglophone take it. An Anglophone takes the country and is able to unify both sides. There's going to be an empathy towards him or her, no, towards him, because now there's no she, but towards him from our side. And this person is also able to reach out across the board. We have connection across Cameroon. I mean, across all the regions have been able to build, relations there through the programs, national programs that run, the municipal councils that work with, all of this, across Cameroon. So I believe that if we give ourselves this chance, we can see Cameroon reconcile. We can see Cameroon unified. We can see Cameroon become some new version of itself. And this is what we need to promote. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President, corruption is said to be deep-seated in the fabric of our society. Transparency International has ranked Cameroon several times as the most corrupt country. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to tackle that cankerworm that has actually...
Cameroon is really suffering from this plague. I call it a plague because that is the only word that can qualify this thing. It's one of those serious problems. Those serious problems that are in this country. It's eating up. In fact, beyond the Anglophone problem, I think corruption is the next, And what is wrong with corruption is that there's a lot of impunity attached to it. People get corrupted, people get corrupt, and they are also corruptors, but they go away. They go away with a sense of impunity that nothing can be done to them. This is not something that we can continue to allow. Corruption, there's a guy, an author called Robert Kliger. He defined corruption as monopolies. You talked about monopolies a moment ago. Monopolies plus discretion minus accountability, that's corruption. So if you have monopolies where people, have power structures that they monopolize these power structures, this is what is wrong with the central government, centralized system, because it's a monopoly sort of power, and monopoly plus discretion. Discretion is that the power acts the way it wants. Minus accountability, it doesn't give account to anybody. That is corruption. And so today we are facing this situation where power structures are too strong, centralized. They act the way they want, with our money, with our resources, with anything. They refuse to give account to anybody.
But they tell you it's the discretion of the president. It's at the discretion.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that the president should not be powerful, but the president should be held accountable. Yes, and it is something that I believe even in other countries we are seeing a president being taken, his decisions are challenged at the Supreme Court. And they say, Mr. President, what you did was unconstitutional. And he abides by the decision, the ruling of the court. That is how a democracy works. That's how democracy functions. But if you're in a setting where people are getting corrupt, everybody knows that this guy is a corrupt person, Olympic Gate, COVID Gate, all of these things, nothing is done. Instead, the people who were involved in the Olympic Gate were promoted to ranks of, when you think about it, there's a sense of impunity that is attached to, this corruption. So number one, we're going to expand the powers of CONAC
and make it autonomous.
Would be autonomous and would have the capacity to investigate cases and take people to justice and become a civil party to the case. We already said that for corruption cases, the maximum length of time that any corruption case is supposed to take is 1 year, 12 months. These things where cases are adjourned for, ad infinitum. Cases are adjourned, people do corruption.
Because they say justice,
somebody stays in court in prison for pre-trial detention for 5 years before he comes and has a trial and a decision of judge from the court that gives him 6 months in prison. So he has spent 5 years of his life wasting in jail for nothing. So when you think about this, we have to be able to reform that and make sure that for corruption cases especially, the trial and investigation cannot exceed 1 year. 1 year. People must be tried for it, they must be punished for it, and if they're found, we have to deal with that. Secondly, we have to be able to make sure that we make Article 66 of the Constitution apply. Article 66 of the Constitution says everyone has to declare their assets.
Starting with the president.
Starting with the president and his family. Today, how many people have ever declared assets in Cameroon that you know?
It's part of the Constitution.
Nobody. Nobody has ever declared their assets. In 2006, they adopted a law. And in that law, on the declaration of assets, they said they were going to create, in a special decree, a commission for the declaration of assets. That was also a way to say that that law was not going to be, implemented, because the commission for the declaration of assets has never been created. So
let's continue with this.
So this is one of the things we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to set up these institutions and to make sure that we can make all leaders in Cameroon to declare their assets before they get into office and after they leave office. It's very, very important.
Yes, you came up with a new concept called A-coloniality.
A-coloniality, yeah.
People want to know. We've searched that concept in the dictionaries, political. We can't find it. What is it all about?
So A-coloniality is a word that I think I basically created that word. It didn't exist before. But if you want to break it down, you see the prefix A means not, not something. So A-colonial means not colonial. Yes, or being indifferent to colonial, structures and ideologies. So A-coloniality for me is the state of being indifferent
to colonialism,
and to everything that has to do with ideologies, structures, everything.
Language, everything.
So language, the thing is that I begin to say language there are certain things that have become global, I would say global inheritance, that it becomes very challenging for you to say you're going to undo the language. Today, we can actually just emphasize our own languages, right? We can emphasize speaking our own languages. Say, how to say good morning in your dialect. I don't know. In my dialect, I say, I don't know. We have to do that while also, remaining connected to the world. Good. Yeah, we have to remain connected to the world because, now the interactions that we have with the world are too great. But what I talk about in terms of A-coloniality, when you look at it, it's a state where we have arrived, where we have nothing to do with colonialism. And this ideally should be the end point of decolonization. If decolonization works and was successful, it should have an end point. It should have a point where decolonization has succeeded, we have a positive belong to it. Once decolonization efforts have ended, we now become A-colonial. You see the point? This is a new era that I want to usher in, where we're saying decolonization, if it only continues to be a perpetual action, that is only we are only into some kind of decolonization. What is that kind of? You cannot be in this process forever. There must be a moment where you say, okay, decolonization should have succeeded. Then there should be a positive evaluation of this process. Even when we talk about post-colonial, from a temporal perspective of time, post-colonial is a period after colonialism.
Yes.
But it didn't even mark, post-colonial did not mark a clean break with the colonial period because you still have, institutions. As Achille Bebe is one of those authors who wrote on the post-colonial. And he says that the post-colonial state is characterized by multiple entanglements, and multiple temporalities, where some of the structures that were in the colonial period transferred into the post-colonial period. And you still have today our systems, we operate with that colonial mindset. We call it commandement. Commandment is like, they have to always repress, intimidate, not listen, impose, this is what you're saying.
So A-coloniality is a complete break away from.
It's a way we say we are in a new era now. We are the new references to development. We're no longer looking at this moment in history, which is an unfortunate moment. It's a dark moment. We cannot continue to refer our existence to such a period. If you say we are living so there was colonial and then there's a post-colonial period. This is the period that we define ourselves with.
And part of this A-coloniality is like exiting from the CFA and the International Monetary Fund.
I say if the fact it doesn't work for us, why should we keep it? If it's not working for us, why should we keep it? We are the new references of development. We are supposed to be the new references of development. That is, and if we understand that we are the new references of development, then we have a corresponding responsibility to formulate some of the highest standards of human dignity that are necessary to meet that ambition. That we are the ones now. We are no longer going to refer to these ideologies and structure anymore.
The safer IMF and stuff.
So the far safer is, and like I said, if it doesn't work for us, we do need to get something new. But now if we have to get a common money, and maybe I'm just segue into that, but if we have to get common money for us, there's money for the Central African community, because that is what it is. You can learn lessons from the West Africa, team, one West African countries. They have what they call the ECHO. ECHO was supposed to have come into use. ECHO is a new money that it's supposed to come.
But it was turned down because it was the French President Macron who actually came and proposed it in the meeting.
No, actually, I think it goes beyond that perception, because there are some kind of economic technical reasons associated with it. Now, if you're saying that countries have to use common money, okay, that money has to be circulating in all countries, the countries that have agreed to use it, then at least those countries should have a resemblance in terms of how their economic performance is. In West Africa, what happens is that, for you to have a common money in use, there are what they call convergence measures. Convergence measures is measures that ensure that your economies are operating on almost similar economic indicators. One of the convergence measures is something about annual inflation rate. You have to make sure that inflation rates are below 5%, all the countries are going to be using. Because if you have inflation rates that are higher, for example, in different countries, it necessitates that country to adopt a different kind of monetary policy that is different from, look at Nigeria, for example, in West Africa. Nigeria has an inflation rate of 6% as of last year, 6.5%. But Cote d'Ivoire has an inflation of 2%. Now, Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire will not have the same monetary policy choices to stimulate their economies. What are they supposed to do? So when you have inflation rates that are below 5%, it's a convergence measure for those countries. Some other thing is that there is this whole thing about the 3-month import criteria, where a country's foreign reserves, which include foreign currency, gold reserves, and maybe special trading rights, these foreign reserves are supposed to permit for a country to import into the country for 3 months without asking for external assistance. Nigeria imports, on a monthly basis up to the tune of $7 billion. $7 billion actually. Now Nigeria's foreign reserves is about 30-something billion, which if you divide 30-something billion by 7 billion, Nigeria can import for 7, 14, 21, and 28. Can import for 5 months without asking anybody for assistance. Take for instance Liberia. Liberia has foreign reserves of 500 million, but their importations are about 250 million, which means that Liberia, if they have an external shock, they will be able to import for 2 months. For 3 months, it's not possible.
It's a purely technical issue.
So if we are coming out of the fast thing, right, we need to make sure that our countries in the Central Africa region have the same, these convergence measures are respected in such a way that we can have a currency that is stable, that we can use it and it can actually serve us in international trade. You see the point, yeah?
Yes.
And for the IMF question, if you permit me to say something about it. Now for IMF, it is not the kind of, the way that we are rated before we get IMF, loans. Well, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, Fitch, their ratings are junk ratings for African countries. In such a way that when people see their ratings, they begin to be scared to lend money to our countries because we are always on the B, B minus and so on. But it is easier for a European country that is rated A plus to get a loan because people see them as less risky.
And the interest rate too is different.
I mean, people see them as less risky and they can even negotiate for, even workable interest rate. But for us, with that kind of rating, what then happens is that when they want to lend money to you, they have to make sure that the interest rate, because it's a high risk thing that they're doing. See? So what we want to do is perhaps renegotiate with the IMF. They have, loans, concessional loans sometimes, by the way, that would mature maybe in a period of 25 years, 30 years. But, President Ruto of Kenya and Cyril Ramaphosa are pushing for a reform of the international financial architecture to say the loans that we're having can actually get them for a 50-year period.
For a longer period.
Yes. The maturity date could be extended to 50 years, and then you give us a 20-year grace period Then we only start repaying these loans after 20 years. That permits for us to restructure our economy, and then be able to, get more returns on our investments, more dividends from our investments, and we can be able to now begin to pay our loans.
So away from this technicalities a bit, let's get back to our exercise in upcoming elections. I want us to do a small exercise. Maybe you profile some of the candidates in contention.
Yeah.
You start with the incumbent, President Paul Biya, 93 years.
Yeah.
How do you profile him?
President Paul Biya, he's, on the positive side, he's somebody who has handled the country for 47 years,
and he still needs the respect.
And yes, I think to be able to have done that, it's not a very easy thing. It's not a very easy thing. But I think today we have a challenge. We have a challenge. The challenge is corruption. The challenge is Anglophone crisis. These things have not been resolved, addressed in a way that the people feel satisfied.
So it's time for him to leave this.
I think it's time for him to give it to the next generation. Myself, he should give it to us so that we can actually take this country and give it a future. He cannot take us. He has worked a lot, 40 something years as leader of the country, puts him in the past. A long past and so on. Yeah.
And Barrister Cameroon.
Cameroon is a strong, a lawyer, advocate against corruption. International profile. But he's someone who people look at him today as potentially someone who can lead, and I think he's a good fellow. But now we are in the race. I'm not here to criticize opposition. We're all even if we have weaknesses as opposition people, I will not criticize them. I will not, because we're already at disadvantage, and I cannot further do damage to my fellow opposition people by criticizing.
Joshua O.C.
Positive guy. He's been able to handle SDF for some time now, after the departure of the very charismatic Nijon Fundi, one of those respected leaders in Cameroon. So I'm hoping that he will do a great job, and I pray that he succeeds with the
Hiram Samuel Iyudi,
a younger candidate. We are all making our entry into
younger than you.
Yeah, he's just a year younger than me, and I think we're making our entry into the political scene. I admire him for his courage, for his daring attitude. That's the kind of thing you want to see from younger generations. Cabral is a young guy who came on the scene in 2018. Has good eloquence. He has some formidable ideas. With the communal liberalism, I know it has a certain proposal. It's kind of my A-coloniality thing, but because a leader comes to the scene with some political vision, some ideology which guides my thinking. For me, A-coloniality is something that I feel, it's something new. Communal federalism, we cannot Bantustanize Cameroon by making it to be. What I feel is that we have to contemplate a form of community consensus in Cameroon that is devoid of demands for similarity, for homogeneity. We need to be able to accept difference and be able to live with it. So I think that's what I have as a challenge with communal liberalism. Bello Boba Maigari, former Prime Minister of Cameroon, has been able to lead the Ministry of Tourism forever now. And I think, he's been quiet and lately just resigned from the government. I think it's a courageous moves to make.
He and Issa Chiroma
Bakari, of course, Issa Chiroma resigned from the government, and it's made clear that he's running for elections again. So we are all, opposition candidates. I don't want to amplify our faults, right? Because all of us, would have our, challenges, but we have to encourage one another to say, we're in this fight, we're fighting for change in Cameroon. We also have Dr. Hakbe, who is a young, I think he made it, MCNC candidate who also made his entry into the political scene. This time around, we have Tomaino Damjoya, the older lady who's running now. Very dynamic lady. She's a leader well known. The husband was known in the country, played a very key role, in the shaping the history of Cameroon. Very bravely, has wonderful ideas. I think she should be given an opportunity to make more impact in political.
Yes, let's take this subtle landing. Your resignation from
and such is for Matomba.
such, but yes, there are so many of them we cannot hear. Yes, let's take this subtle landing. Your resignation from the post of executive director of the Network for Solidarity, Empowerment and Transformation for All, dubbed New Seta.
New Seta, yeah.
It's a youth-focused NGO promoting democratic governance and youth participation. Clearly shows you want to be apolitical.
Yeah.
And people want to really, they're weighing you on that.
Yeah, so that is why wearing the cap of civil society was a bit, for me, something I was limiting. I've worked on political questions. I've reformed laws. I've proposed right now. There is a law that I proposed on access to information. That law is very crucial even for you journalists. If you go to a public institution to ask information about COVID kit, they're not going to give you. Why? Because they don't have an obligation to do so. The law I'm proposing obliges institutions to provide information proactively to citizens. Anyone who requests it should be able to have access to it if the information is not exempt information, if it's not classified or confidential information. It should be given to the public, provided. Now, that law is something I propose, and it has been structured by a member of parliament as to how laws are, presented in parliament. All I need to do if I get elected, the first thing I'm doing is voting that law. It's a law that I propose. It's a law I like it. Because I didn't even name it after me, if people want. But it's things like that.
By resigning from the post of executive secretary, that's part of accountability.
Yes.
How do you want, government ministers and public office holders to be accountable in your government?
So they have to. Number one is that you have to be able to respect certain rules and regulations. Yeah. Today, for example, you find issues with corruption. I tell you, corruption again is something that.
But accountability, how are they going to be accountable?
How do you hold them accountable? Accountability has two elements to it. It is checks and balances. It's about the policies also. So number one, checks and balances are obligations that make everyone who is working for you to respect certain processes. Those processes would mean that if there is there are three forms of accountability. There's political accountability, which is the idea that what you say as a politician, you're able to do it. So don't come and make fake promises to your people. Tell them that you're going to build bridges where there are no rivers, and then you come and
build seaport where
there are no seas. That is so. Political accountability is that one, but it is also financial accountability. Financial accountability is that you subject these institutions to audits. Okay, annual audits. I did audits in my civil society organization annually. These audits are done and given to funders who provided their money to fund our events. Every year they are approved, and the money is, they have to renew their plans with us. This is something I have done. I have experience with auditing. I know how to audit an institution, whether it's external audit or internal audit. These are things that have to be done. There's financial audit. There is also legal accountability. Legal accountability is that if you have, for example, said that in this organization, it is the executive director that is supposed to sign a check to approve that money is used this way. And then we come and see that it is some board member who has done it, as is the case in some of our institutions, where the PCR signs what he was not supposed to sign, where the director signs what he was not supposed to sign. These kind of things is failure to account legally. If there is no legal accountability, there's no financial accountability, there's even no political accountability, how do you expect the government to work? For me, I have to combine these different elements of accountability and make sure that people can respect them. On the policy side, you get this, this law that obliges people to publish information. If you go to your municipal council today and ask them about the project that they have been funded to implement, are you sure you're going to get that information? You're not going to get it. But if you have that law that obliges them to do it, they're going to do it. And that is one of the things, so you must address it from the policy side, But you must also be able to think about it from this multidimensional, perspective where it is not just financial accountability, it's legal accountability, it's also political accountability, because we have as an obligation to the people, who, and this is the point. Representation is about what? It's not. It's more than just symbolic representation. There are people who are there in office, but we have different kinds of affiliations that they're. So you must make sure that representation is not a sort of surrogate thing where you're coming to office, but you're representing particular interests. This is what we talk about the mandat imperative. The mandat imperative being used in Cameroon is that when you are represented, when you're elected in office, you're not going there to do somebody's bidding. You're going there to work for the people as a whole. So you're not going to get instructions from anybody and then implement them. But you also have people who are more gyroscopic in the way that they represent. Because gyroscopic represents that people vote for you, but you go there and do what you think,
So, Mr. President Ateki Seta, we need to end it there because we have a lot to discuss, and the campaign is just starting, and we'll continue sometimes another day.
Right.
Please subscribe and continue to support your platform. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the interview. Mr. Boney Mua. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to finally get you. And thank you so much for your patience. I'm very grateful that we finally are able to meet and exchange.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I wish you all the best with the program.
Thank you very much. And I wish you for success in your presidency.
Thank you so much. Thank you.